Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 35. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaye Stadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Shri Guru Shri Gaurangero Yugala Charan Shri Radhikayar Tar Jato Shakhigon Shri Krishna O Krishna Bhakto Tad Bhaktero Gan Bhumite Poriya Bando Sabaro Charan. Sri Shuka said, well, before that, this chapter 35, is sometimes given the title Yugala Gita, which is not, as one might suppose, anything to do with Jugal Kishore, or the young couple, but it is because the verses after the first introductory verse, and except for the last prologue verse, all the other verses are in pairs of couplets, or the sentence carries over, or the expression carries over two verses. So you have one, the introductory verse, and then after that 2 and 3, 4 and 5, 6 and 7, etc. So, having said that, Sri Shuka said, first, Om, all hail to Almighty Vasudeva. Sri Shuka said, what time Krishna would to the forest wend, all day in woe the cowherd girls would spend. And, as in mind they with him went along, they celebrate Krishna's exploits in song. The cowherd damsels said, when Mukunda with head to left inclined, and the flute to his tender lips consigned, his cheek rests on his left arm in repose, his soft fingers the vents open and close, and breathes with dancing eyebrows melodies. The siddhas with their wives ranging the skies are struck with wonder and astonishment. These goddesses yield to embarrassment, to find their belts and garments slip away, their minds to amorous passion a prey. Hearken, ye gentle dames, to what I say, this wondrous news that I to you convey. When Nanda's son, who dissipates distress, to his soft lips the sounding flute doth press, his pearly necklace a sweet smile displays, and Shri like lightning on his bosom stays. By the sweet strains he breathes into his flute, the bulls and cows and gentle deer stand mute, and cease their chewing, raising up their ears, like figures in a painting it appears. Companions dear, as Lord Mukunda wends, along with Bala and his cowherd friends, plumes and pigments his person decorate, and soft leaflets, while he doth emulate a wrestler in his mien and his attire, and plays upon his flute, which doth inspire the rivers to withhold their flowing wave, and stunned as if they did the contact crave of his foot dust, they drew their waters back, and even as with us they merits lack, and trembling with love spread their wavy hands, and lap the shore and sink into the sands. Surrounded by his friends as he proceeds, who laud his song, in song the glory of his deeds, like the heavenly attendants who praise the primal being in their tuneful lays. When roving the hillside, that Lord divine plays on his flute to call the straying kine, whereat creepers and trees put forth new shoots, fresh flowers, and abundant juicy fruits. And Vishnu's all-pervading presence shows, as down their soft bark joyous nectar flows. Their branches in humility they bend, their shoots are as the hairs that stand on end. Responsive to the humming of the bees, who, intoxicated, sing his glories, attracted by the fragrant tulsi flowers in his garland as they roam through the bowers. His grateful approbation he expressed, and took his flute, which to his lips he pressed, and produced such dulcet melodic strains. The ruddy geese, fair swans, and the tall cranes approach Lord Hari in reverent guise, in silent meditation with closed eyes. When he with Bala to the pasture goes, rapture to all the universe bestows, while playfully the hillside slopes they tread. He wears a flower chaplet on his head, and as he plays his flute, now soft, now loud, there swells above him a dark nimbus cloud, which rumbles softly as it were afraid of presumption, and offers a cool shade, as if rural goddesses to commend his worth and do the office of a friend. Your son, O pious lady of strict vows, is dexterous in the arts of tending cows, and when self-taught upon the flute he plays, a masterful accomplishment displays, that when the flute to his lips he applies, and breathes forth modulating melodies, in harmonies now middling, low, now high, the chief gods from their station in the sky, Shakra and Sharva and the great grandsire, that unpremeditated strain admire, and as they lean forward to hear the sound, that music doth gods and sages confound. While on his lotus petal feet he roves, through Braja's pasture land and shady groves, conspicuous on the ground are bestowed his footprints bearing lotus bolt and goad, which grants relief unto the yielding ground, which from cow hooves sustained many a wound, when from his flute sweet music forth is sent, as he moves like a playful elephant, and casts loving glances. We cowherd dames the great Cupid agitates and inflames. Stunned by his gazes, unable to move, we fall a prey to ecstasy and love, that we are unmindful of loosened hair, and of our garments slipping unaware. Somewhere under Vrindavan's shady boughs, he with a string of gems tallies the cows, with odorous wreaths of dear tulsi hung about his neck, and negligently flung his arm on the shoulder of his friend there, he entices the wives of the black deer, and drawn by his melodious flute sound, approach him and sit by him on the ground, and even as with us, for his dear sake, hopes of domestic happiness forsake. O taintless lady, noble Nanda's son hath put a playful rustic garment on, and does with a soft fragrant garland shine of fresh and odorous sweet jessamine. By Yamuna's banks with his cowherd friends, the cattle wealth of lowing kine he tends, where languishing the breeze conveys the scent of perfume with Malaya sandal blent, and there demigods and divinities present him with offerings to please, and in rhapsody his praise they prolong with instrumental music and with song. When he who once the high mountain upheld, by loving care and affection compelled, and Vraja's herds of cattle to defend, what time the weary day draws to an end, along the path with his friends he proceeds, herding the cattle wealth, while of his deeds his followers like bards delighted sing, as they the herds back from the pasture bring. His garland is sprinkled with powder fine, and dust upraised by herds of tramping kine. His beauty is enhanced by weariness, which doth a languid love-longing confess. Such sight is a grand festival to see. The gods in eager curiosity attend him and extol his sacred fame, and praise the glory of his deeds and name. He is, as 'twere, the benediction moon, arisen from pious Devaki's womb. To honor his friends while along they stroll, his eyes intoxicate, enraptured roll. A wreath of fragrant forest blossoms deck, along with golden ear pendants, his neck. And as the fine powder stains and besmears, his face like a dusty berry appears. Yet refulgent as of the Lord of Night, his countenance beams with a lambent light. And thus the chief of Yadus in his grace doth like a royal tusker this way pace. And the herds and people woe, and the herds and the people's woe to allay, returns with the cows at the end of day. Sri Shuka said, and thus, O king, Braja's damsels conversed throughout the day, and Krishna's sports rehearsed, engrossed in him with conscious faculty, and thus enjoyed supreme felicity. And thus ends chapter 35 in book 10 of the great and glorious Bhagavat Purana, the text beloved of swan-like saints, sung by the son of Vyasa. And there's a nice shloka commemorating Krishna's returning from the cow herding and covered with dust. Godulidusharita-komalagopavesham Gopala-balakasatairanugam-yamanam Godulidusharita-komalagopavesham Gopala-balakasatairanugam-yamanam Shayantaning pratigriham pashubandhanartam Gachantam achyutashisham pranatosmi nityam Gachantam achyutashisham pranatosmi nityam.